Now the next day, Monday, was Halloween, so I wanted to make sure that I did as much as I could, but came back early because the Americans really do celebrate Halloween, and I didn't want to be caught up in any of the issues. I have to say that actually things were quite quiet at the hotel generally. Obviously, there's a major highway that makes quite a lot of noise, and there is the occasional plane that you can hear from the nearby airport. But generally speaking, the nights have been very quiet and I've been able to sleep no problem, with the exception of Saturday night, where I don't know if it was just one of those days where things get busy at the weekend here, or if it was a case of an early Halloween party, but around midnight on the Saturday, there was something going on with loads of people meeting in the car park. There was lots of honking and stuff. But as soon as they started playing loud music, the Indians from reception came out screaming at them and cleared them all away. So there wasn't too much of an issue, really, with that. I knew that once I got back to the hotel, I could ride out the night of Halloween in peace. So after my so off I went to Burger King. I had my usual breakfast, and then I went a little bit beyond, because just beyond Burger King, it's the furthest that I go away from the hotel, is a little gas station, petrol station, and they do fantastic coffees. It's like a self-service coffee thing, and they do caramel lattes. Oh, to die for. So I'd had a caramel latte, I think it was on Saturday, so I decided that I was going to have another one. And that's where I started to encounter for the first time the sort of people who would walk up and down the road asking for money, and they are a little bit hostile, and you do sort of just have to ignore them, and they do shout after you, and they do follow you for about a block. And you just have to put up with it, basically. The best thing to do is to pretend to be on the phone, because then they probably don't disturb you in the first place. I'd already been in a situation where, having come off the bus, I think it was on the Saturday, I found that there had been a guy waiting at the bus stop, not to get on the bus, but to harass the people that got off the bus for money, but I just ignored him as well. You know, that's just what you have to do unless you want to give to everybody, all these con men, and I didn't have the money, really, so I didn't bother. It is something to be aware of. You do need to always have your ears and eyes open in this place. You do always need to have a purpose. You need to walk as if you at least look like you know where you're going, even if you don't. I think I'm more of a target because I'm on my own than I would be if I was in a group. But you know, so far so good. So there we are. Anyway, so I decided that I would avoid Burger King for a little bit, and I would switch my regular place to McDonald's, which was, you know, the other way. But then I caught the bus into the city, and what did I do? I went back to do the, where was it? The Museum of Natural History, which I had passed the day before, sorry, on the Saturday, but not actually done. So I did that. I started with the planetarium first. There was some confusion. She gave me the wrong ticket for the actual planetarium itself, and so I had to go for an upgrade and change all that, but it was not too bad. I found that it might have been done by accident, because the Natural History Museum, the planetarium, was having problems with its electric, so, you know, the desks all went down when they were trying to give us tickets originally, and we had to go to different desks, and then when they tried to give me the upgrade, the desk wasn't working properly in a completely different part of the planetarium. So they'd obviously had issues. But I went into the planetarium. It's the first time I've been in a planetarium in years. Absolutely is. In fact, it's only the second time I've ever been in one. First time was many, many years ago on a trip, a birthday treat to the London Natural History Museum, where we looked around London itself afterwards, and we found the planetarium there. I have to say, after living in London between this time and that time, I have no idea where that planetarium is now. I think it must have gone. But anyway, so then I did the Natural History Museum, which was good in... There were various parts of it that were good, and there were other parts that were not so good. It was a pretty confusing layout because it's on different levels. The entrance to the planetarium is 2 levels down from the main entrance to the museum, and the main entrance to the museum is ground level at one end of the building. So the building itself is sort of like sometimes your ground level changes, basically, which I found very confusing. But anyway, then where did I go? I went towards Broadway again. And I looked at the Lincoln Square. The Lincoln sort of centre is next to a university, which I looked at as well. And it's basically a load of concert halls, and it's where you go for the ballet or the orchestra or whatever. And then I started doing the actual city, the Midtown city, and it was basically just moving from big building to big building, taking photos. One of the more important places that I visited was St Patrick's Roman Catholic Cathedral, which was a little bit of a disappointment, to be honest. The Chrysler Building was fantastic, but taking a picture of it is a nightmare. And the Rockefeller is about as boring as I thought it would be, and so I didn't go in, and I didn't go up to the top of the rock or whatever the name of the observatory for that one is. I didn't do that. So yes, and then I decided that I needed to go back early, so I did. I went back on an earlier train. Sorry, I keep saying train when it's a bus. An earlier bus back home, and I spent the evening... What I did was I stocked up on some nice foods to take with me, and I had my own sort of little light night here, so to speak. And it was quite enjoyable. I put on a film. I had my nice food. I generally had my own little party on Halloween here, but not for Halloween, not celebrating, my own anti-Halloween party here, and nobody knew about it. It was fantastic.